Hey everybody, we're back. It has been a long hiatus, 2 months actually, since we did another live stream, and we've done. Actually, it's been since the beginning of the year since we did a Muse Live, but we're back. We have another episode of Muse Live. We have a new person actually joining us here on Muse and Muse TV. Introduce yourself, Hannah.
Hi, my name is Hannah Fletcher. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been working with Muse now for about a month and a half, and it's been a great experience. I'm very honored to be here and to be speaking with you, Mike, about Eternals.
Come on, you could go a little bit more.
Yeah,
Come on,
I'm excited. This is a great experience. I've never actually had the pleasure of being able to talk about a movie like this in this type of format and this type of setting. So I'm excited to be able to talk about Eternals. Eternals is awesome. Oh my gosh. So I'm excited.
Okay. You don't have to butter me up that much. Let's continue with what the topic at hand is. We're here live and we're going to be talking about the new Marvel film that comes out next Friday. I would like to say the Eternals, which was its original title, but it's Eternals. Yeah, so the movie is pretty much extraterrestrial beings who actually have been around for 7,000, 8,000 years, who pretty much are the reasons why the planet is what it is. And they use the planet's energy and blah, 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 and it gets crazy nuts. But I think that's a good synopsis of what it is. But yeah, but let's talk about the film. What were your thoughts? Because we were actually at the world premiere and we got to see the film and the world premiere of the movie at Dolby Theater. And what were your thoughts of the film?
Honestly, I want to speak on behalf of the people who I grew up, I never really watched a ton of superhero movies. I never grew up really watching DC and Marvel. So my attention span for it is not where I would obviously like for it to be. And I would like to speak to the people that kind of grew up like I did. I was able to stay in tune to the movie the entirety of the movie. I was able to track with everything that was going on. What I really like is that this movie seemed to stand on its own, and it doesn't seem like you have to have a lot of backstory or a lot of prior information in order to, at the very least, enjoy the movie and be able to appreciate the acting and to appreciate the storyline. And I have to say, I think that Chloe Zhao did such a good job at directing. The acting was so beautiful. And I was just honestly in love with the performance that I saw and the graphics. I thought it was great. I was able to track and figure out exactly what was going on for the entirety of the movie. And I think that was wonderful.
And that's what I want to hear. I want to see what people who are not fans of this or haven't been involved in the last 10 years of this Marvel Cinematic Universe, what a story like this would mean to them, or how it goes to them. Because like, even for me, like I read comic books as a kid. I've been watching every single Marvel movie since it's been released, since the first Iron Man, and I didn't know about the Eternals. Had no clue what they are, who they are, never read the comic books. So I went in there pretty much blind. And to hear somebody who liked the film like that and what your thoughts are really carries weight, because that's what I'm curious about. What is the regular audience going to think about this film?
For sure. Yeah, I think that it was very, very clear cut, honestly. And I was able to even take a break from even like watching the movie and appreciate the visuals, appreciate any of the graphics. I thought that even the soundtrack that was underlying the whole time was just wonderful. I was just able to really indulge myself and immerse in the experience. So often I've tried to get into movies that are more action packed and more storyline driven, where you have to know what's going on prior to seeing that movie. I've tried to see other franchises movies, and it's just never been, I still enjoy it, but I can't necessarily follow the storyline and I can't really comprehend what's going on. I'm not going to walk out of the movie theater being able to really hold a full-fledged conversation. That's where Eternals is different, and that's where I appreciate how you're able to really go in and enjoy it, and it stands on its own while still connecting to the other movies that exist as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, with my thoughts,
Yes.
I think the worst thing about watching a movie and then having to do a review is when you have that time between when you actually watch it to when you start thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And me, I'm thinking about it, and it's a good film, but it has flaws. It does have things that I was kind of like, well, pacing was an issue for me. I think certain parts of the film it does get slow, and it kind of slows down to almost a halt. I think that was one. I'm gonna go with the bad first, and then I'm gonna talk about the good, about what I liked about the movie. But the bad was the pacing. I think story jumped around too much. Uh, I think they did a better job than Justice League did. When it comes to an ensemble cast like this, and how many people are on the screen and things like that. It is different for sure. It is a film that, and that's why like I was curious about it. And I was talking to some friends as we're getting out of the theater. My main concern was, what is the regular audience going to think of this?
Mhm.
Because I don't think it's like Guardians of the Galaxy. A lot of people didn't know what Guardians of the Galaxy was. Then they saw it and everybody loved it, and it was good. But this is a different film for Marvel, and it's made in a way like Chloe Zhao has her stamp all over this, and especially from her film last year and all her previous films, you kind of get that same, not only the color palette but also the way it works through scenes. And I think she does a great job, especially giving it like almost like an independent film type of feel
Mhm.
on a bigger budget. There's some incidences, sorry, when it is kind of early here in LA. There are some points and incidents screw it. There's some points in the film. I don't know why I can't talk this morning. There are some points in the film where, and I saw this before in a Marvel film, which was Captain Marvel, where the CGI look kind of wonky. And when you see people who are at their home perfecting computer graphics in a way that looks better from somebody who's doing it in their basement, to not saying wrong to anybody who's doing this in their basement, because hey, they're doing a great job. But when you see it on the big screen with a major budget, I'm just kind of like, oh, this is sometimes like, I don't know. I mean, it's a good story.
Mhm.
I think they do what they need to do. It really does talk to everybody, introduces the characters correctly,
Mhm.
shows the progression and how their influence was in different time periods. Love it. I think I think they did a great job when it comes to the story, and they got the characters right off the bat. But my thing is just, there's certain things that just kind of like make me wonder what the larger audience is going to think about it.
Mhm.
And for me, I enjoyed it. Like, I think it's a good B+ movie if I'm giving it a letter grade.
Mhm.
But there's things that I need to watch it a second time, definitely, for sure, to see and get everything.
That's how I feel too. And I feel like that if I were to watch any of the other Marvel movies as well, I feel like all of those movies are just so jam packed with so many different things and storylines. There's so many different characters. Everybody's got so many things going on. And I think that that's the best response that I have to in terms of this. And I really do want to see it again. I want to be able to, I took it in for the first round. And now I want to be able to sit down, not necessarily pen and paper style, but really sit down and be like, okay, and catch all of the things that I missed, because I'm sure I missed so much, because again, there's so much going on. Speaking to the characters, I agree with you completely. I was able to really be able to see each character. I felt like they were fleshed out in terms of backstory, storyline, who they were, what they were doing, coming from an actor perspective there. But I really enjoyed being able to identify who the characters were. I felt like I tracked with them. And I feel like, kind of like what Mike is saying, he's coming from the standpoint of knowing these types of movies, knowing the tones, being able to track with them. Whereas for me, I'm kind of coming in as like an outsider, taking a step into the Marvel universe. And what a great first step. I feel like this is also a really good movie if you haven't really tracked with the other movies that exist in the universe. This is a really good introduction to the Marvel universe and what's to be offered by it too.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like when I'm watching it, and now that and like I told you, when I took a step back and I'm thinking about it, I'm like, is this part of the is this part of the MCU, but on the outside, that this is happening on another plane
Mhm.
and everything's going on, and this is just a segment of what this new future is going to be like, where we're going to have their own stories, where the Eternals playground is going to be this? Are they going to, or is it a part of the larger picture of the MCU? Because to me, it felt like its own thing.
Right.
It's a
I
part of the
think that's
MCU.
good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. It's a part of the MCU. We know it's there. We know all the other superheroes and everything that's going on is there, and we get references of that with, especially when talking
Right.
about Thanos and what occurred. And but it seems like it plays on its own. And I'm wondering, how does this, and that was the one thing walking out, was how does this lend to the bigger picture of the MCU now? And that's because that last 10 years have all been, every film seemed to be leading to something. And I'm wondering if this one is leading, what's the bigger ramifications
Right.
of
It
this?
seems like it's going to be connected. It's just a matter of how. They kind of set it up to where if they wanted to do a deep dive, they could
Mhm.
and dissect it further. Or, like you said, maybe it ties back. So
Yeah,
I think that this definitely has a big plan, but as viewers, obviously it's just anybody's guess at this point, for sure.
exactly. And that's the one thing I'm kind of curious about. I'm just wondering, because even the
Mhm.
post-credit scenes, even though they were spoiled by a certain outlet that we're not going to talk about, that's a pretty big outlet that everybody heard and knows about. But I'm not going to say anymore. Uh, it, it even like one of them kind of like, okay, I get it now where they're going to probably go with this. The second one, I'm like, okay, who? I'm still trying to figure out who was the voice in that second post credit scene and how it's leading up, because every post credit scene seems to lead into what's coming up.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I'm wondering, but it's we're not going to talk about it now because nobody's watched it yet till next week. So maybe we'll revisit this next week. But it's just I'm just curious. I'm really curious to see where this is going.
Me
Because
too.
I love Shang-Chi. Like when I
Mhm.
saw Shang-Chi, I was like, wow, this is different. And you could tell where it plays into the current MCU. And I like it when I got out of that movie, I was like, this should have been what started Phase 4, not Black Widow. Shang-Chi should have done it, because I think Shang-Chi had, I think Black Widow should have been to put like around the Civil War timeline, a
Mhm.
little after Civil War or 2 films after Civil War before Infinity War, and I think it would have played differently for me. And Shang-Chi was just something I hadn't seen before, and with an explanation and going back to the past, to the future, and everything like that, on what the Mandarin and the 10 rings and everything like that, how that all worked out. I think that was perfect. But for the Eternals, I'm kind of like, I don't know yet. And that's why I say, like, I have to see it a second time. And I think if I see it a second time, I'll understand what a little bit more about this film.
For sure. I think you'll be able to even take it and kind of flush out any theories that you have. You're going to be able to put more together for yourself, kind of like we were saying, we don't know where it's going to land in terms of the universe.
Mhm.
So yeah, I completely agree, and I'm
Yeah.
definitely would go see it again.
Yeah.
It was great.
Oh, I agree with you, because I was
Mhm.
just kind of like, I just want to see what it, because I guess the long thought process of the movie is kind of like making me critique it a little differently.
Mhm.
And maybe if I see it a second time, I'm going to say, okay, maybe that's where I was wrong. And I would love to talk spoilers, but we can't,
Right.
but I think overall, I mean, it's a good film. You're going to have fun with it right off the bat. Uh, I do have issues with the pacing, but that's that could be overcome, and it may be different on the second watch. But yeah. So, what would you give this movie when it comes to a later letter grade for you?
Honestly, in terms of a letter grade, I would have to say that this would teeter on like an A minus or an A, just because
Mhm.
of my personal standpoint and where I come from, and I don't want to say the lack of knowledge that I have for the Marvel universe, but in a way, like
Yeah.
I said, it's a great introductory movie. It's a great stamina builder to get somebody used to these types of movies. I feel like this is and again, just coming from how I grew up and what I've watched and what I've exposed myself to, I just really feel like these movies almost take building a little bit of stamina to be able to keep
Mhm.
pace and to understand. There's a certain way I feel like you need to watch these movies. I'm the
Mhm.
type of person, I like to put on a movie, tune out. I'll go on my phone, I'll check some emails, and then I like to look at the movie again and be able to pick up where I left off. With these, you can't really zone out. You kind of have to keep it going until you've seen them a few times, and then you can do that.
Yeah.
So, coming from my personal experience and my background, I would honestly give this movie a minus A because I think that it was just really great, and I'm excited because now I've. It's not that I was never a Marvel fan before, but now it's getting me excited to be able to be waiting on the edge of my seat for what's to come, and also now I kind of want to take a crack into the Marvel universe and go backwards and take a look at some films and really see what else I like because I feel like I like a lot more than I even ever thought I did before.
Mhm. So, a quick question to you before I give my final thoughts.
For sure.
So would you say like a film like Eternals would be an entry point for a lot of people who didn't for the last 10 years, 11 years, actually 12 years now, possibly.
Mhm.
I forgot how long this has been going on. Would you say this is a good entry point for somebody who's brand new to the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Because I know if you would have entered like in the Infinity Saga, the first the first three phases, it feels like you have to go back to phase. If you came in phase two, you have to go back to phase one and watch all the films in order to kind of like keep up to speed. Same thing like if you came into phase three, like you have to watch phase one and two in order to get ready for what's to come. Do you feel like this is a good entry point for somebody who has not seen any of the films, who's not really followed this Marvel Cinematic Universe, to come in and join it and actually watch the films?
I truly think that it is. And I think it's a great entry point because of the fact that there are such, like you said, there are references that are thrown back. So anybody who is a fan can connect, can laugh with those jokes. They don't make enough of the jokes or the references to be able to necessarily exclude anybody. I think that, like you said, it is a great entry point, and I think that people definitely, if you want to get your feet wet and start to understand the Marvel universe, I think that this is a great place to start. And honestly, one of the reasons that I never got into any type of Marvel movies was because I was afraid that I was going to watch a movie or even watch the wrong one and then be lost and confused. And I didn't want to get a bad taste in my mouth or not be able to appreciate something just because I didn't have a predisposed knowledge of what I felt like I should have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great entry movie. And I'm excited to be able to explore and see what else there is in Marvel that I'm actually a fan of that I didn't even know I was a fan of.
Yeah. Interesting. I like that take. I like to see what. That's why I said. That's why I had to ask the question because it's like I'm kind of curious
Mhm.
on now that we're entering because this is a whole new phase four and on is a whole new different type of direction on what the Marvel universe is doing. We're seeing new heroes, new characters, new stories, and they're really taking. It seems like they're taking risk already with the Eternals. But overall, like in my view, I think it's a B plus, BB plus. I think cinematography looked great. I did see a CGI, wonky CGI at one point, which is, I know it's technical and I know it's nitpicky, but like at this day and age, for a studio that, for a company that has a lot of money, you should be able to correct those CGI issues. Just saying, because if we could correct a lot of the issues, so can they. Uh, I think this. I think director Chloe Zhao was a good for like this is her first realm, I believe, into this in directing a Marvel type of film, and I think she did a great job. The storytelling on the characters was good. I'm really curious to see, like I said, and I'm waiting for opening day. I want to see what this movie's going to do with the general public. I'm really curious because like you go to a premiere and everybody is always loving it when they're
Mhm.
walking out of the theaters and will praise it and everything like that. And a lot of them do it because they just want to do lip service to the studio and yay, this is great. Me, I'm the type of person who like my first reaction is always a good first reaction. If it's bad, I'm going to tell you it's bad.
Mhm.
just like for Halloween Kills, which is probably one of the best comedies of the year. Um, even though they didn't mean to make it a comedy. Uh, but like there is a lot to like in it, and there's a lot that I see, and when I think about the film, that I'm kind of like, I wish it could have been a little different. But I think overall, it's a BB plus film. You're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna have fun. Uh, and it's good to hear from somebody's viewpoint who has not been a part and seen these films
Mhm.
and this entry point for you to see the film, because it kind of gives me a little bit more about what is the general fan base going to like and dislike about this film. So I'm really, like I say, BP plus. I do want to see it again though, because I think I missed a lot. Maybe the first round and first time, because Dolby Theater is not a movie theater.
No,
So
no.
you don't get like the full perspective.
Right. You don't
So,
get that immersive experience. I
mhm.
feel like you do in a regular movie theater. I
Yeah.
completely agree with you there,
Mhm.
for
And I
sure.
think if we saw it at El Capitan, it would be different, because El Capitan is designed for more of a movie theater experience.
Mhm.
Because we did have like the sound for me came kind of weird because it's such a big venue. So sometimes I would hear things on my left ear
You're like, "What?"
or my right ear, and it felt like somebody was talking. And I was like, what the? But then I was like, oh, shoot, they put speakers there purposely for the Dolby Atmos surround sound. Where
Mhm.
at a movie theater, I'm already expecting that.
Right.
So it kind of throws you off a little bit when you're watching a movie there. And that was my first time I ever watched a premiere or any film
Mhm.
at Dolby
Yeah.
Theater. So yeah, I think it's a good. I think everybody needs to watch it. You need to. We'd love to hear your
For
points
sure.
of view and see what you thought of it. We'll try and come back probably next week and do a spoiler review. I'll wait a couple of weeks until and do a spoiler review before we come back live. But Hannah, how could they find you and follow you if they want to learn more or see more that's coming up?
So if you guys want to find me and follow me, I am very active on Instagram. My Instagram is at Hannah R. Fletcher, and I'm always posting. I'm always posting stories and sharing my experiences, especially with working with Muse and with Mike. So that's where you guys can follow me at Hannah R. Fletcher on Instagram.
And you know where to find me here at Muse TV, at Muse_Mike. You can find me there for everything. And also, just to let everybody know, we have a network launching very, very soon in January of 2022. And we have a beta. I call it a beta test that's already currently live. So if you go to Roku and you search Muse TV, you will find the app already there. We have one interview up because we were testing it. We're going to be putting up more interviews over the next month of November and December to give you a preview and a sneak peek at some of the shows we're going to be doing on the network. So Muse by Muse is one of them, and that's going to be launching in January of 2022. But also, we'll be back live doing weekly live after shows again, exclusively here on YouTube for the new Hawkeye series. Malik Patterson, who did an amazing job with WandaVision, with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, with Loki, which was our last one. He's returning, and we're doing this weekly again. We're going to be bringing on people from Muse who haven't been a part of it, who have seen it. So we're going to have a rotation. I may be there sometimes. I may not be there sometimes. It depends on what's on my plate that week. But we'll be coming back. November 24th is the first episode. First two episodes are dropping for Hawkeye on Disney Plus. So we'll be back. We'll be talking about it. We'll go into it. We'll be talking about the series. So don't forget, mark it on your calendar. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, because if you hit that notification bell, you're going to be told when new videos are coming up, when live shows are going to be coming. And also, don't forget, Roku, follow it there. We're currently live there. We're going to be going on to Amazon Fire Stick as well, but it's taking a little time. They have issues at Amazon right now with the feed. So we're trying to fix that with them and get that done. In addition, which I haven't said yet, but we're going to say this now first. Muse by Muse will be on Amazon Prime next year as well. So you'll be able to see it in multiple platforms. And in addition, we're going to be announcing some more new shows. So I know that's a long exit, but hey, we haven't been live in a long time. It's been 2 months since we did a live show here on YouTube. Oh, also, before I forget, this week in pro wrestling comes back in November. for season 2. We're gonna start season, or it may be a continuation of season 1, and we'll just start season 2 next year. Not sure yet. We're still talking about it. But we will have our end of the year's best matches. Me and Jeffrey Harris will have our best matches of 2021. So make sure you come back. We're going to be going live. I believe we start again next Thursday or Saturday. We'll let you know when we're going to be coming back. It's going to be next week sometime. And we're going to be talking all about wrestling. Survivor Series will be going up. SmackDown coming back to Staples Center. So stay tuned. We got some more information for you. Thank you for following Muse TV and being a part of this. And we'll see you next time here on Muse TV.